All right, rolling.
Yeah. So we're putting this both channels, your channel, my channel. So okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, give me an intro.
Collab. We
Oh
need.
my God.
This is the intro.
Yeah,
We are
this is the
rolling,
intro.
and that's how this is working. Go ahead, bud.
All right.
Take it over.
What's up, guys?
You're the
It's
YouTube star. I only have like 2,000 subscribers.
okay.
So.
Well, maybe this will get more. So, okay, guys. So it's Eli Knight with Aaron Jannetti. We're up here at Endeavor Defense and Fitness, and we didn't just get out of the swimming pool with our clothes on. We actually just got done with the first day of the Knife Control Concepts course. Aaron has really put together this really good comprehensive course called Knife Control Concepts. And when I say it's comprehensive, it's not like we're going to cover like every single instance where somebody could stab you or pull a knife on you or hold a knife to you. It's concepts, it's principles kind of across the board that you can drill that are going to make you more aware of how to control someone with the intention of putting the pointy end into your body somewhere, right? So there's a lot of concepts though, because the way we're tag teaming this over the next couple of days, he's doing standing, I'm doing ground tomorrow. When you take a principle-based approach, there's a lot of things as far as how you control the posture, how you control the structure of the person, the movement, how you entangle the limbs, how you work on those push-pull energies, how you close distance, how you separate. All these things are going to be really the foundational elements of how you're going to control yourself in that entanglement, rather than knowing step by step, oh, it's this angle, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's done. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron. He's going to talk about some considerations standing, about the proximity of our bodies together, like how he's going to control those energies, look for a good position on me, and then we're going to relate that to the ground too, maybe. Right?
Yeah. So one of the things when we get in, and again, looking at a concept. So we're going to focus on the idea of using my head and hips for pressure to control or feel his body movement so that I can adapt to it properly, and then also bait him into giving me certain positions. So we start, generally in the front, and we talk a lot with stand-up wrestling about head pressure, right? Driving with our head. So if I'm in like a front 2-on-1 here, I'm using my head to be a big piece of the puzzle, and I'm getting this and steering. If I get to the outside, I'm using my head to go into steer. So I'm allowing, right, other pressures, positions of my hips, driving of my head to control the entirety of this situation, or control more of it, right? And so as we start, we work a lot with inside positions, working to the outside, getting all the way to the back. There's a lot to that. However, what we really want to be paying attention to is this idea of proximity, what I'm using. So as I wait my way to the back, which is where we're really going to talk about specifically today, I have whatever back control. Either I've got his arm, far side hip. Again, we're talking real life scenario. If he's got pants or a belt, I can hold on to the belt and use that to control in some form or fashion. But what we often see with back control when people get to the back is they leave this, right? So I may have this great control over the arm or decent amount of control. I may even have a gift wrap. However, if I'm giving him all of this space, these are more variables that I have to deal with, more options that he can use to escape. So when we take the back, using this principle of using, pressure with my hips and my head to take this away, I split his stance, I get my hips all the way in, and I'm applying pressure with my head. So I'm limiting a lot of the movement that he can do. Any movement he is going to give me, I have more contact points so I can feel it and pick up on it quicker. And if he is going to make his way out of this by taking all this space away, he is most likely going to give me bigger, uglier movements, which gives me energy I can take advantage of. Now, eventually we want to start working our way towards the ground, and where this principle comes in just as important for the ground is, let's say I want to dump him. So I start pushing into him, and he starts pushing back into me, and I want to dump him. Well, this energy of me driving forward baits his hips back. If I stay in tight and I get my hips back, it's a lot easier for me to take his energy and put him down on the floor, right? So again, pop one up. If I have all of this space back here, right, when he moves that energy, he can actually work into there, and I lose a little bit of that advantage. If I go to dump him and I create and separate from him and get out here, it's more likely that he can turn back into fight. It's more likely that I get pulled off balance. So that hip pressure allows me to control or at least mitigate where he moves. It allows me to feel his movement a lot easier, and it forces him to do bigger movements, which allows me to control him and dump. So specifically, if we end up here and we're across his back, let's say that he starts pushing back on the opposite side. So he's going to start coming this way on me, right? As he goes to come this way on me, basic dump, right? He's pushing energy here. I'm gonna disappear. I'm gonna put him back on his back right here, right? Well, if I stay in nice and tight, then I can stay here in control. I can keep him belly down. I can create pressure on the back of him. I have a better chance of keeping him face down and controlling here. If I lose that pressure and I stay loose from him, he can simply roll, and now all of a sudden, he puts himself back into a position that he can work from. Now I have to work on his legs. I got to worry about him turning back in. He's better there, right? So this, again, important to stay in nice and tight while standing. Stay in tight if I'm going to be in. Okay, we should make this point that if I can simply get rid of him and run, then just get rid of him and run. Like, let's make that point really quick. Disclaimer. However, if I decide that I need to control, or I just simply decide to control, I want to stay tight to him when I go to make this dump, and I want to be able to regulate and control how he lands. So I take that step back, I put him on the floor. Now I'm here. I've got better control over where he's at. This is a lot harder for him to respond to. I've got better pressures. I can start striking and move from there. If I'm loose about that and he starts to roll away from me here, shit. Now we got to work in. And this is where Eli's going to take over.
Yeah, so something really important, and Aaron mentioned a couple of times, I'm going to reiterate one more time. If there's a knife involved, first of all, if you have the luxury of seeing someone present a knife and it's from a distance where you can exit the situation and you're by yourself and there's nobody else that you're charged with protecting as a third party or anything like that, yeah, of course, avoid the situation, run away from the person, disengage as separated as whenever you safely can. But what we're talking about, though, is that there's other considerations that must be made. There's times that you have to stay in tight, and it's all in or it's all out. So whenever we're here and we want to engage, then we're going to have to kind of see that through, at least until it's safely possible to disengage. And again, that depends not only on my own personal safety, but if I'm with my daughter, if I'm with my girlfriend, my wife, somebody that I'm charged, if I'm a police officer, if I'm a bodyguard, anything like that. So then that's going to change the complexion of it as well. So whenever we're in these positions on the ground, there's a lot of great things that just going through kind of a positional hierarchy already account for, because we're talking about controlling the shoulder carriage, the hips, the alignment, the ability for him to put his hands together, to cross his body, all these things, and that's why it's a whole course that we're doing on this, because there's a lot of considerations. But what we're going to look at here is that when we wind up in this position, and I can't just like jump up, soccer kick him and then run away, I have to keep control over this, then I'm not on the best side, because he's got too much mobility of his hips, his shoulders. He's got all these limbs that he can start putting in the way. And one of the most common responses, if we're kind of drilling this a little bit, is that he wants to bring this hand into play. That may be that he's coming to strip my grip away here off of his hands to free his knife hand. He may be looking to switch weapon hands here like this. He may be looking just to hit me with this one here to free it up. So whatever it is, though, that all the motion from this arm starts at his shoulder, so I'm going to attack it at the source for that reason. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to pin this to the floor. I want to pin my head here this way, and I want to look to transition across. There is a grip switch here, but I'm trying to keep the time off of his wrist as short as possible. So if he wants to try to reach over right now, that's going to be very difficult for him, because I've kind of split, keeping his shoulders separated off to the side like this. While this is just one-on-one right now, I want to try to get the two-on-one established back as soon as we possibly can. So from here on this side, I want to switch this off, and I'm going to drive my shin right across his bicep. Then I'm going to go back here to this two-on-one like this. So now we wind up in this kind of position here. So again, like if I need to get rid of this knife here, he may be palm up, he may be palm down. If he goes palm down on me like this here, then we can start looking at maybe going into submission kind of opportunities where we look for like a kimura. I look to tear this arm until it can't functionally hold on to the weapon any longer. It's a little more difficult to strip the weapon out of a fully functioning, fully strong hand. So we want to damage the arm if at all possible. Now, we're also need to kind of make mention here that if we can efficiently strike, I can come back here briefly, I can rake at the eyes and smash, I can drop this knee in briefly, but I want to maintain the structure that I've created here over his shoulders. That's going to mitigate some of the explosiveness of his body to be able to writhe and kind of kick free and everything. And then from here, we can also still come back and look to strip this knife out and get control of that weapon. Whether I want to throw it away, whether I want to turn around and use it, that's context will kind of dictate whatever is appropriate in that situation. And that's one thing that, it's beyond the scope of this video, maybe even beyond the scope of this course, creating every single scenario where we might, go onto our weapons, their weapons, whatever. But you can kind of see that there's some concepts here, and that's why it's knife control concepts rather than knife control a disarm, protection, whatever. The concepts are what's going to drive it. Now, there are going to have to be technical considerations, like he was talking about. This is where you put this is where you put that. But those are structural things. Those are functional things, because these are the strongest elements of how you can situate two bodies together. And just like on the ground, now. The considerations that we have to make, 2-on-1 maybe changes by definition a little bit, but the essence of it stays the same. I may be able to use my legs and my arms together. We'd have a horizontal surface underneath us versus a free motion standing that's a little bit, a few more variables whenever we're in the standing position. But yeah, we're trying to tie all that together in one course as short of hours as we can. See if we can do it in 8 hours. We need about 80 hours maybe. So yeah, what else, man?
Well, it's the one thing to take away, right, is from a concept standpoint, he's using his head in that position when he's in this here, right? If he stays removed and stays away, right? So if he sits back and just stays here, there's nothing stopping him from moving, right? So what's he doing? Yes, he's got a 2-on-1. He's controlling two hands in one, but again, he's using his head in this instance to control that position, right? In here, he's using his hips down heavy. You may not be able to see it and feel it, but his ribs are down heavy. He's using his knee to control, right? So he's using different pieces of the body to actually control and mitigate that position and have a little bit of structure there. And that's a huge piece of the puzzle. So we're like collecting as much as I can. I'm getting as much contact as I can. I'm controlling. I'm using the limbs as I can use them. And that's for stand-up. That's for the ground. That's for whether I'm face down like turtle, whether I'm out to the outside, all that type of stuff. If you're not affecting my body, I have more movement out of my body to get to turn. It's the same thing standing up, right? So the overarching principle, at least to take away from this video, is if you're in, right? You've said this 1,000 times. If you can get away, get away. No matter how you enter, we talked about this today, no matter how you enter, I don't care what your system is, right? Enter how you enter. You find yourself in a struggle over a blade in nice and tight, you're either committed to staying in or commit to getting away. And if you're committed to staying in, I want to utilize shoulder pressure, head pressure, hips in. I want to collect things. I want to take as much space away as possible to increase my opportunity to control.
How are you even going to know whether you're committed to staying in or getting out? How are you even going to know if it's safe to disengage or that you're going to have to stay tied up a little bit longer? That's why this has to be principle and concept driven practice, and it has to be drills where you're going to get there and you're going to experience not every single, but tons, thousands of different ways this can go sideways. And then you're going to have to see, well, what can we do to funnel these different mistakes, these different haphazard things that are going wrong, and what kind of overarching kind of umbrella principles are going to guide those things? Or, if there is something technical, then what is it? So that, because the more specific that you train a technique, like you said this earlier today whenever we were training, lots of things can work. The more you train, the more you see that everything in every kind of martial arts system can work. But the more specific you train something, the more fine motor skill, the more step-by-step ABC, then you're going to start to see as soon as it deviates from the specificity of that technical approach, then you start to develop a lot of confusion. You're going to have to adapt on the fly, and what's going to happen then, you're going to have to think, you're going to be late, you're going to be slow, you're going to have to apply more attribute, you're going to get tired, everything's going to go completely wrong. So to have things that you can drill more, then that's going to get you in a little bit better of condition to be able to think on the fly, so you're not just completely frazzled whenever things go sideways. So that's what I really like about this course. I like about this approach. So that's my endorsement of Aaron's concept-driven course here, man. And that's why I like it. And I'm really trying to even adapt further. That's been my approach to the ground stuff, particularly with the blade, but I'm trying to even adapt more based on a lot of the material that I've seen of his too. So, all right. So, Endeavor, defense and fitness, not self in front of it, just defense and fitness. Endeavor. Check out Aaron on all the social stuff. Jannetti Aaron Jannetti, Endeavor, FTC.
We'll put it.
Yeah, it's gonna be here.
He'll put it.
You don't have to worry about it.
And that thing.
And my name's Eli Knight with Knight.
This is Eli Knight, guys.